So next up, we have Tezarah Wilkins. Tezarah is a photographer, producer, and podcaster. Okay, alliteration. She has made a name for herself raging about the poor but humorous state of driving and getting to know people through their silly idiosyncrasies and road experiences. Let's give a warm welcome to Tezarah Wilkins with From Rage to Riches.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. All right, so my name is Tezarah Wilkins, and I am a multimedia producer, okay? All right, I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. So I'm a multimedia producer. Thank you. And it has been a crazy year for me. So I started a podcast. I interviewed 15 dope guests. I got burnt out because podcasting was way more difficult than I thought it would be, of course. I took a break, entered an international podcast competition, spoiler alert, won that competition. Yes. And I went through a 6-month podcast intensive that took me on the ride of my life. And just last month in September, we launched season 2 of the podcast, Who Taught You How to Drive? Right. And how many of you have had to say that phrase as a driver in Philadelphia? Right? Quick fact. So in the same year, Philadelphia was ranked number 3 for most aggressive drivers and made it to the list for worst cities to drive in, right? So now you have a foundation for my rage, right? All right. So that is me at 3 a.m. reevaluating my life and also editing tape. And I had no idea what tape was last year at this time, but I found a recent voice memo of me brainstorming my podcast. And I said that it would be a disgruntled etiquette show for drivers, right? Like I was the expert and all these other people, primarily y'all, were out here doing it wrong, and I was gonna rage about it every week with a new guest, right? And then I started to wonder if the rage I felt when some jerk cut me off without signaling or yelled at me and called me everything but my name whilst giving me the finger had more to do with the fact that we're so isolated on the road, right? Like maybe if we got out on the road together, we could learn something new about each other. You know? Maybe if I asked some of these mundane questions about driving that no one else asks, like if I could look at you in the face and say, dude, why be a dick and not move over? Like, was the fact that I could go from Zen to Terminator in 2 seconds because of this, isolation in society? And from that, Who Taught You How to Drive was born. And every episode, I ride shotgun with a new regular-ass person trying to figure out why we become this when we get behind the wheel, right? I encourage my guests to use their mirrors to reflect on their past, their driving, and their relationships with other people on the road. And recently, someone asked me a question that I ask people on my show, not this one. But what do you yell in a road rage? And I thought about it, and I was like, I'm not yelling expletives, I'm not chasing people down. And then I was like, duh, Tezarah, you ask questions. Questions like, who taught your ass how to drive? Our tagline is popping the hood on humanity. And we quickly realized that the only way to get to the answers was to ask the questions. The questions that nobody's asking. Like, why are you texting and driving? Or speeding in and out of a lane on the boulevard like a madman? Or why are black children more likely to die in a car accident? Or why is it so damn difficult for an immigrant to get a driver's license when I can count at least 2 handfuls of people that I know who are citizens who should never be on the road? This unique perspective and outlook on society and identity was seen by the PRX and Google Podcast Creator Program. It's an intensive that is there to increase the diversity of podcasts and lower the barriers. That program gave me the ability to bring humor, diverse perspectives, and social issues to the forefront in a voice that's mine, in a voice that you don't typically hear in the broadcast landscape. It literally gave me the opportunity to take the fork in the road, to forge my own path. All the puns intended. Today's society is so isolated, y'all. Like, everybody's heads are in the phones. You're breaking up with people on text message. You're going to these silly ass parties where you listen to music and headphones and everybody listens to different music, but people need connection. And sharing stories is what helps us make that connection. So if I could leave you with anything tonight, it's that what if we took the things that we hated the most and raged about the most and just made a podcast about it like the millennials? That was a joke. And just ask questions. Like, who taught you how to drive? Who taught you how to drive? And you up there, all right? So before I leave, I want to take a selfie. Is that all right? Video selfie. So on the count of 3, I want you all to yell, you're most angry and frustrated, who taught you how to drive, okay? Can y'all do that for me? Yes. I want y'all to pretend that y'all on like City Hall at 5:15 on a Friday.